Well, hello students. I realize that many of you were not able to attend class yesterday on the 9th of June. Some of you had other commitments that were mandatory. I can appreciate that. But yesterday we talked about the different types of data collection and primarily worked on the instrument and also on how to be able to put the entire paper together per se, which you'll be working on at this point in week 6. And then finally, when we get together in 2 weeks, more or less, you're going to have your paper uploaded and your final draft uploaded. This week you'll be doing, going into week 6, you're doing your first draft of the entire paper. I'll give you feedback on that, and then the following week when we get together, you will have uploaded that paper for your final grade, and we will be discussing it in class. Now, you don't have to make a presentation of the paper, but if you want to do a PowerPoint, go ahead and do it if it makes it easier for you to explain what you did. But either way, whether you get up and make a presentation or you just explain it, you do have to talk about it, okay? And primarily, what you'll be talking about is the following. What your hypothesis, well, you identify the problem first, relate the hypotheses to the problem identification, talk a little bit about your literature review, chronologically the same way you put the paper together. Then the next thing that you want to do is, tell me about your survey instrument and what type of feedback you got from that, how that correlated to your literature review, and related back to your hypotheses. And here again, it's um, a complete process. It's a chronological process. It's very succinct. So there may be repetitive steps in there, but again, when we discussed this in class yesterday, nevertheless, it's still part of the process that you go through when you do research. Then, once you explain the interaction between your research instrument and your literature review, then you will take the main component out of each goal that you had identified that you wanted to learn about in your research. Take that main point and then draw a summary from all of those points. Okay? So, what is the major takeaway from each goal that you set that support your hypotheses? Now, when you get to your conclusion, okay, your conclusion is going to be nothing more than a comparative analysis of your summary against your hypotheses. So is what you thought originally before you did your research the way it panned out after you've done your research? Then you have a positive hypothesis and you can validate it and tell me the reasons why you validated that hypothesis. If, on the other hand, you came up with something different than what you originally thought as a result of your literature review and your research, now you have what's referred to as a null hypothesis, okay? And what you want to do is tell me why your research showed that it was different than what you originally thought. That is basically what the project is about in totality from beginning to end in your whole 7 weeks of work. The last thing is going to be a reference sheet with all of your research paraphernalia. So here's the thing. If you interview someone, you got to give me the time, the date, you put it in APA style, who you interview, when you interview them, basically day, time, that's it. That's all I need to know. If there's a hyperlink or a video attached to the interview. You can just upload the hyperlink if it's in a YouTube video or however you do it. If not, then just list the details of what I just gave you to get down. But that is a valid reference. It has to be posted. You just can't say, well, I interviewed someone, okay? You gotta give the detail. The other thing is if you use your PowerPoints, if you use my lectures, if you use the book, or got online type of references, you got to list them as well. Now, if it's a big article you research for your online references, literature review, all I need is the URL. I can upload it and read it myself, so you don't have to actually post the article. What I don't want you to do is cutting and pasting entire articles for literature review. You have to have an opinion attached to that, okay? And that's backed up by what you've researched. Now, I went over with the class exactly what needs to be done as far as putting the paper together. So pay attention to this. I wrote it on the board, but I can't write it as I'm speaking to you here. So the first thing that you want to do is, obviously, you know how to do a title page, okay? I need a title page. On the second page after the title, okay, I want your hypotheses in there, and I want that hypothesis centered. Now, the third page is going to be your outline, how you put all of this together. It's what I've explained to you. Your identification of the problem, the hypotheses, the goals and objectives to reach the hypotheses and state those goals. Then under that, only the reference sources of your literature review. So all you have to do is post what you use for references, not the actual literature review itself. Under that, a copy of your questionnaire. Unless you use different questionnaires for different people, all I need is one copy of the questionnaire. That's in your outline. I don't want the responses, only the questionnaire. After that, okay, what I need to have is you're obviously writing the body of the paper, so you don't have to list that because that's already stated in your goals, which are going to be a separate section of your paper. You don't have to list the conclusions or the summary because that's in your paper. All I need is the outline, okay? So all you have to write after you give me your goals is body of paper in the sequence, under that summary, under that conclusion, and then reference sheet, all right? That kind of delineates the whole structure, the skeletal structure of your paper. Okay, so here again, title page first, hypotheses second and centered, third page outline. After that, you put each section down of your paper, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, that correlate to your goals that you have identified in your outline. Okay? Then, after the body of your paper, you're going to actually write your summary. Now, your summary shouldn't be more than like a page and a half. If it is, then you got too much in there. Because all I'm looking for is a takeaway from each one of your goals as a result of your research. So that takeaway should be some component of the results of your questionnaire and your literature review as it relates to the goal. So keep it very succinct. It's very chronological. One takeaway, and each one of those takeaways coming together is your compiled summary, and that is what, in your next section, for your conclusion, you're going to compare to your hypotheses. And that will be either a positive effect, meaning what I set out to research is what I got out of this project, or a negative effect, which is a null hypothesis, which means what I set out to research isn't what I actually came up with in the end. and most importantly, the reasons why. Then finally, you have your reference sheet, okay, which you've already alluded to, but now, well, you alluded to that in page number three, I'm sorry, of your paper where you talked about where you got your reference sources. Now you're going into the detail of it, meaning that the reference sources might be the third edition or the second edition if it's a book, the PowerPoints, who wrote the PowerPoints, where they came from, the interview person, who that person was, what meaning did they have to the to being the reference source. So you don't have to elaborate that much more, but the important thing is that you are very succinct to separate your opinions from the facts, which are your literature review. And after that, the paper is done. That's it. If you guys get stuck, you always know how to contact me. Don't use snail mail, it's too slow. Use text or give me a call and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right, that is it. I will see you in a couple.